What a privilege to have your company with us here on Richard Mwenja Exclusive, the first week of July, the year of our Lord 2024. I am here, Richard Mwenja, to discuss about several conversations shaping Kenya's political and governance landscape. And who better to help me bring such conversations home than this renowned think tank, former Minister Ruto Arap Kirwa. Glad to see you, sir.
Quite happy, very well, and I thank God that we are still in this town. Yeah.
Very well. You are former agriculture minister, and news reaching us, it has been reported by mainstream local media, Nation Media Group. 560 tons of donated fertilizer from Russia allegedly has disappeared from the high seas. It's not the first time this is happening. And actually, initially, we received donated fertilizer. It came, it was repackaged, and now it was pumped into the market as subsidized fertilizer. What do you make of what we are now seeing, the reports that it is missing in the picture?
Well, my prime worry is one, that I hope they have not gone to the south coast to be mixed with sand before they release to the market. Number two, if it is donated fertilizer, why doesn't the government allow us to have the benefit of that fertilizer, except the cost of freight and the packaging? Why do they want to take credit that it is fertilizer that has been subsidized by the taxpayer? And more important, I just want to remind the president that don't have scapegoats by saying this fertilizer has been subsidized, not by him, it's by the taxpayer. He's only a midwife, and midwives don't take away children from the mother. So this is still our taxes, whether you are subsidizing or not subsidizing, but also give us assurance in terms of quality. Yeah, we may find a lot of it is sand, that you said 5,000?
560 tons.
560,000 metric tons. Yeah, that tells you it's a lot. If you want to get into the number of bags, you multiply by 1,000 and you divide by 50. You will get the actual bags of fertilizer that now may not get into the market through the right channels. That's my worry, and I think part of the problem this regime is faced with is they lie, even when there is no need to lie. Yeah.
And you've implored the president not to repeat a lie. Do you still hold the same thought?
Yeah, because you see, even when he was trying to defend himself on the issue of the finance bill, he's still bringing it and rubbing it on our face. That if you don't know, this thing would have given you a trajectory that you'd be middle income economy. I don't know, when did he learn economics, and why does he insult the intelligence of Kenyans? A bill only deals with 1 year, and therefore in the absence of that bill, there is still other taxation measures arising from last year's finance bill. And those taxation measures can still go a long way in trying to mitigate some of the problems. But more important, why doesn't he tell us the measures he's doing to reduce pilferage and theft that arises almost in every ministry, and of course wastage that takes place in the same ministry?
Talking of which, in a bid to address your concerns, the president has invited dialogue to take place and to take shape. But my question is, do we need dialogue to discuss corruption in this country? Do we need to bring Gen Zs over the table to discuss about theft of public resources?
What just he needs to do is a number of raft of measures. One, dissolve the current cabinet. Take time to reflect on the team that you feel is going to assist you. Run the balance of the period that you've been given. You don't have to sack everybody. You can still retain some of the individuals, because really I do not have a lot of problems with many of the people in the cabinet, except their excessive bad manners. 3, learn also to listen, even to your own team, so that you don't become the person leading in prayers, prosecuting the cabinet papers, and also closing with prayers, and you hope everybody has understood what you're doing. The third issue that he needs to take into consideration is to remove wastage by offices that are not mandated in the Constitution, starting with the office of the First Lady, the office of the Second Lady, the office of Prime Cabinet Secretary, not hiring the CAS, give them alternative jobs, and the people who are blemish in the institutions they are running, ease them out of the way. And people will listen to you. By the time he calls the meeting, it will be a meeting of concurrence, a meeting of unanimous decision without necessary contest. But if he engages the public the way it is, there are many questions he will be asked, and in the process he may get annoyed and close the chapter. And that will be bottling up the problem and allowing himself to be evicted out of town.
That would be brewing thunder.
That is thunder, and with a lot of pressure, the cylinder may fly through the roof.
Full explosion.
Explosion, and will be removed out of town. And you see the danger also with our president, and this one I want to tell him.
Sure.
You are not the respecter of history. If he was a respecter of history, he would remember what happened in France 1958 and 1968. He would remember what happened in Egypt. He will remember what happened in Sudan. He will remember what happened in many other parts of the world, even Burkina Faso, where Blaise Compaoré, who had been president for 27 years, he was evicted out of town and parliament was burned down completely. He saw some of that piece of evidence the other day when parliament was occupied. Whether you like it or not, it was the first time in the history of Kenya for parliament to be occupied. It is because he never listened to the pulse rate of the nation. It was the first time in the history of Kenya that the president had to return a rejection of finance bill. First time in the history of Kenya. So he's making the wrong history. What he needs to do is retrace his steps, listen to the other people, members of the public, and don't, Mr. President, don't try to be an expert in any other field other than the field of Bozu that you did at the university. You may have experience, we also have more experience than you in many other fields.
Yeah. And maybe you have better credentials academically than him.
Well, I don't want to compete with him, but I have masters in governance. I have masters in international studies. I'm doing PhD in international studies.
You attended the lectures?
I attended the lectures.
And there are those who can witness that.
Go to the University of Nairobi, ask Professor Nzomo. She will show you that this student was in school.
Yours is beyond reproach?
Beyond reproach, because I believe in doing what I've assigned myself to do. At that time, I was not even doing business. But Marx used to give me a feeling of success because I said I'm in school, I want to behave like a student.
Yours wasn't from Tim's University?
Tim's, I don't even know where it is. I think it is somewhere in Uganda.
Yeah, sure.
And the lecturer at times comes to Wilson Airport, then he crosses to Weston. And one governor got that certificate from that university. But it's okay. Yeah, I wish him well.
Very well. Let's go back to that conversation, the need for dialogue and the need for the president to listen more. But the question is just how much advice, what is the magnitude or scale of advice that the president needs to get this country running in the right track? We've seen envoys of intercessors, a section of the Gen Zs. Just how much advice does the president need to get things right? You know,
in a nation like ours, there are many things that take place. But the most important is that all these advisors, including David Indi, if that is then what an advisor is supposed to do, then he does not need an advisor. Because he gets information from NIS, he gets from normal societal interactions, and President Moi used to get all that information, also including delegation that used to visit him.
Civil society and all.
Civil society, business community. But as I've said before, advice is as good as the recipient. You can have the best advice, but you are not in a position to receive it because you believe you know more than anybody else in Kenya. And you know, when he emphasized that issue, that you people, you know, this I would have done for the country. Let us tell him what to do. He should not be telling us what he wants to do because these taxes are our money. It is not his money.
You're talking of taxes, and the president the other day, a fortnight ago, during a media interview, said that now that we've seen the rejection of the finance bill of 2024, the country has an option, but it's going to be forced to borrow 1 trillion Kenya shillings to now finance its development projects and its expenditure for the next fiscal year. Let me ask you, without there being a finance bill of 2024, does that mean then that Kenya will come to a halt?
Well, the answer is no. No, in the sense that there are so many taxation measures that go on every day. VAT. Practically VAT is collected for every cup of tea you take, for every fuel that you get in a fuel station. For every action that you do, there is VAT. But more important, Richard, is the fact that the president ought to understand that this pilferage, wastage, and theft that takes place in every department of government, if it was reduced to a minimum, you'll be able to save 1 trillion shillings. So it does not need to borrow. It should improve measures on tax collection in terms of making it friendly, making it easy to pay, because corruption starts with that place. That yes, you want to get into NTSA, you cannot access for 2 days, and therefore you are not paying your 3,000 shillings or 10,000, whatever is the case. You want to do something in City Hall, you cannot access, you are told the systems are down. You want to do something even such in Ministry of Lands, even if it is 500 or whatever the amount, those are taxation measures that he needs to improve. Secondly is, once you get those taxes, make sure you take care of them so that it does the intended purposes. Otherwise, this wastage, and the difference between today and then, during our time, is that any theft, any misappropriation is now read almost directly. These young people, they can photograph you signing off some money and almost put it in the social media. But during our time, you have to wait for the auditor to go through every ministry, bring a report to Parliament to discuss that report, for you to know this is where misappropriation took place last year, or 2 years ago, or 3 years ago. But today, it's almost instant evidence. And that's why the public is outraged by the behavior of this regime. It's not because the regime is the worst. It could have been better. But the way the information gets to the public domain is so fast that before the president knows, he will see it in the social media.
Can you then say confidently that even the talk about the need for the government to walk the talk on austerity measures in public finance management, from the president's side, it was more of doublespeak? In fact, they have engaged in doublespeak far too long. Because one of the areas where the president needs to also look at, and he can do something about it, is to go through social media. And GNC has made it so easy for him. I've seen there's a raft, I think 1,000 promises that he made, that he has almost done the opposite. Nobody's still talking about bottom up. Nobody's still talking about cost of animal feed to be halved and milk production to be doubled. Nobody's talking anymore about projects like affordable housing and why it was not domiciled in National Housing Corporation, which has houses, as we talk today, worth about 1.3 billion that they want to sell and there is no buyer. And nobody is talking about the fact that private sector deals with affordable housing and they sell it at lower than the prices the president is talking about. All these things are promises he made and they have not been able to be realized. That's one raft of issues. Number two, he should do an audit of the manifesto, because the manifesto was high sounding, but in reality, some of those promises in the manifesto are likely not to take off. Number three, what he should do is to do a summary of all those issues and do address to the nation, telling Kenyans, I promise you this, but the things we can achieve in the next 3 years are this. Please give me time, and I'm going to do this about pilferage, about theft, and waste of public resources. He will do a simple statement and everybody will say he has tried. And now then, do you read wisdom behind his recent initiative, which is committing to set up a team that will do public debt auditing and bring the details to the public. Finally, we are seeing him now being open about the subject, about just how much do we owe other countries or institutions.
Does he need to have taken more than 1 year? Because he was deputy president for 10 years. And if his first assignment, if he was not given the leeway, would have been within the first 3 months to tell Kenyans, this is what we owe the rest of the world, this is what we owe our local banks, and this is how we intend to move about doing it. He started by saying, I'm not going to borrow. Then he has borrowed more than Uhuru in the same period. He has borrowed more than Kibaki, same period. He has borrowed more than Moi, same period. 10 years of Moi's regime, he didn't borrow what the current president has borrowed. 10 years of Kibaki regime, he didn't borrow as much as the current president has borrowed in 2 years. So this is double speak, and he needs really to give us a break. Yeah, he needs to give us a break. Please, Mr. President, give us a break. We are not as stupid as you think. You ascribe us lower values, but I know, as well as you do, that you are not gifted in everything, except your anger.
That was so combative.
Yeah, no, I'm not being combative. I'm just being practical. This is a man I've known from the days he left university.
Nothing personal between you two?
Nothing personal. Why? I don't need a job from him.
Because you were left out of a state appointment when he got into power?
No, I had already left him. You know, we agreed to disagree. I left him. I worked for him for 2 years. And I was telling him, this is the way to go. You know, the public is so fragile. They don't care about you.
You've implored the president to be beyond reproach, and now we are saying he's created sort of a trust deficit. The masses cannot believe in what he says. So then, let me ask you, as a senior citizen and someone who's been around the political arena for quite a while, this journey to bridge the gap and people just creating a sense of trust in him, where does that journey need to begin from for the president?
It is not to confront the public. I've said, Richard, let him address the issues I've told him. Let him address wastage, pilferage, theft, arrogance.
Police brutality, perhaps?
Police brutality. And also there is another one, display of opulence. Knowing that these are individuals, yesterday we were borrowing each other 5,000. All of a sudden they are carrying 5 million in their bags. And now arriving home in choppers. And the last time I told you, during my tenure as minister, which is about 20 years ago, I took a chopper to Nandi, only to realize it cost me 540,000. So today a chopper must be costing slightly more than that.
Maybe it's because you never had good friends then, like the president has friends who can facilitate his travel to the US.
That's laughable, because you see, you should declare who are these friends, because you see, there's no free lunch. And therefore, if he's getting free lift all the way to America and back, there must be a slice of this nation that has been sacrificed.
There's no free lunch from Uncle Sam?
Uncle Sam never gives you free lunch. For every $1 that he gives you, he takes away 7. That's the reality. That's the rule of the thumb. Read from these books. It's not from me. I've not written a book about it. But read. For those students of history and governance, for every $1 you get from Uncle Sam, he takes 7 from your country.
What danger then lies when a president cannot be trusted in the fullness of time? What eventually could unravel?
The best thing would be for Kenyans to wait for the next election and decide the fate of President William Ruto. My take is that let us not scuttle his presidency, because we'll have started an exercise that is likely not to be reined in. Because the moment you allow people to take out leaders through revolution, that revolution door will be open for so long. It will remain ajar, and anytime somebody makes a mistake, is removed. But I can tell the president also not to allow Kenyans to get sufficiently annoyed as to evict him from State House. It is easy, you can kill 30, you can kill 40, but if 1 million people came to State House, by 4 o'clock, they're outside the gate, you'll have to look for escape route through Abrata.
On a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being the least, 10 being the highest, what are the chances that President Ruto is going to be a historic one-term president in Kenya, looking at the prevailing conditions?
Chances are 9 out of 10.
9 out of 10?
Yeah. It's going to be one-term president. 9, I'm saying, or what is your scale of measurement?
1 to 10.
Yes. 9 out of 10. He's going to be one-term president. I don't want to say 10 out of 10. I give him that probability of 10%.
9 out of 10 means the vehicle to Sugoi has already been fueled.
And it should be on the way. I should wait for the vehicle in Nakuru.
Kibruto Arab Kirwa, Kalenjin community is looking at you, watching you. Many are thinking you are treating the temple. You're fighting their own son.
No, I'm not fighting him. He's better in Sugoi. And after all, there are so many farms anyway. You can go to Masai Mara. You can go to Laikipia. You can go to Taita Taveta. You can remain in Weston. And many other places. So it's okay. And he likes traveling. So he will be given the leeway to travel.
Would you honor an invite from him for dialogue between you two on state matters?
There's nothing personal, but I'm telling him now. He just needs to have the patience. I'm telling him. And I can tell him in front of any camera and even in front of him that the vehicle to Sugoi has been fueled. It's on its way. You may need a chopper to pick it from Nakuru.
Will you take up a job from him today? At least to help him shape Kenya?
No,
what the Singapore of Africa?
Oh, okay. He is totally incapable of doing that. One, is not patient. Two, he does not believe in the capacity of others. And what I know in governance, it takes you to believe in others for the results to be gotten. Otherwise, if you don't believe in others, you cannot achieve that. People are not machines that you switch on and off. You need to interact with their emotional content. Allow them to feel important. Allow them to feel rewarded. And reward is not in terms of money. Don't be telling people, I know more than your ministries. That is the opposite of what governance issues are. Don't tell somebody that you are clueless. Nobody is clueless in this world. Even the fellows in the street who have gone mad, they still have the clue that they have to eat to survive. So, please, he is the president. I respect him.
Very well.
But it does not have the capacity to lead this country at this time.
Very lastly, Ndego Njiro asked me to advance this conversation, this question to you. Did you read remorse or a sense of empathy from President Ruto when he was discussing matters to do with police brutality on that publicized media interview with renowned editors?
There are 4 interviews that I've seen him engage. 4 interactions I've had with him. The first one was in Nyandarua at the church function. I would have given him credit. He spoke well. The second interaction with him in the media is when he was talking tough on the measures he was going to take against what he was calling criminal gangs.
Organized criminals.
Which is not factual. Otherwise, we would have been told who are these criminals, who is financing them, and where are they from, what is the formation. That was not factual, and that was the height of arrogance. The third one is the one he addressed and withdrew the finance bill. That I would give him 80. Why am I taking away 20? He behaved as if he was still prosecuting the same finance bill before the public domain. We are trying to manage anger, and yet he does not realize people are angry with him. They are not happy with his ministers. They are not happy with his associates, and they are not happy with him personally. The fourth one is when he was interviewed by the 3 editors, Linus Kaikai, Eric Latif, Joe Ageo. He performed miserably. If I was to give him marks, I would give him 30 out of 100.
It was dead on arrival?
Dead on arrival. He was annoyed. He was personal with Linus Kaikai, telling him, I know you have never credited me with the truth, which means he has some historical things. And it confirms my point that he has good memory for bad things. How did he remember that from the beginning? Linus has never given him respect. And you realize, Eric told him that when he was asked, interacted with the public, what question shall we ask the president? He said, tell him to stop lying. When a president is seen to be a liar, that is dangerous even for our society. Because the president is supposed to be the epitome of the truth. He's supposed to be a place, a sanctuary for national healing. He's supposed to be head of state. head of government, commander-in-chief, all those credentials given to one person is too much. But he does not seem to respect that. Possibly God gave him a chance, but he has abused it.
Well, there you have it. In the interest of time, I have to bring the show to a wrap. We have been discussing a plethora of issues in the world of politics and governance. Mheshimiwa Kiptoo Arap Kirwa, thank you for your insights and thank you for honoring our invites. We wait to see you on our next conversation. Remember to advance this conversation beyond here. I'm at Mwenje Richard on X and on TikTok as well. Find Mheshimiwa Kirwa at Kirwa Official on X and on TikTok as well. Until we meet next on this particular show, do enjoy the rest of your viewing.